Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So Sikhi tries to focus more on the individual's character and giving advice on the right kind of morals that we should adopt in life, rather than giving us a long rule book. The reason for that really comes down to Gurbani itself. Gurbani is very clear upon a character-based ethic rather than a rule-based ethic. There are certain things that can go wrong when you have a rule-based ethic. Self-righteousness and also ahankar or hubris. There's this sense of pride that I'm doing the right things. And this is Sikhis very much against that. One of the cornerstones of Sikhi philosophy is humility and actually seeing yourself as nothing. And it's very hard to do that if all you're told is by doing certain things you're going to get into heaven or whatever paradise that awaits you. We don't have that concept. The internal is far more important than the external. And in fact, in Japji Sahib, Guru Nanak Dev Ji goes into this and he says, Tirat tap daya dat dan jeko pave til ka maan. So by doing some of these actions, Guru says, you will only earn a sesame seed worth of respect. And then the next line, Sunya manya man kita pao antargat tirat malnao. So it says, by listening and also by following what Guru is teaching us, then we can earn love inside. And then we wash ourselves in the internal tirat. So internally we have this kind of cleansing process. So the internal and how clean it is and how much purity we have in our thoughts actually is more important than specifically the outward actions. The outward actions will come when our internal system is pointing the right way. So Sikhi is trying to build that internal compass, pointing one way. Compassion, Guru Sahib says, is like the mother of righteousness. So being righteous and being just in all our actions is very important. But the first one is compassion. Compassion for all human beings. The minute our heart turns hard against someone by not seeing the pain that they're going through and empathizing with that, we will be stepping away from Sikhi morals. So Paidaya Singh is the first Punj Piare and Paitaram Singh is the second one. Taram can be called righteousness or a just moral code or just moral society. So regardless of color, creed, race or sex, this is what is right and what is just is what we should be focusing upon. Having the strength and the courage to do what is right is another very important character trait that we all need to have. It's not good enough just to be humble and sweet and compassionate, but also when something needs to be done, we can't get weak and get scared. So being fearless and having courage is a very important Sikh trait. To just aim to be the best in what we can be, not so we can boast other people about it, but that we don't fall short of our own high standards, whether it's at a spiritual level, i.e. Guru's telling us that our aim must be to merge with God. But at the same time, let's look at the world where we live in now. Guru Sahib is saying, be excellent at whatever you do. Guru Sahib was a great warrior, he was a great poet, he was a great leader, and he's given us that tradition of excellence. Don't accept second best for yourself, set your aims really high, and then go for it. And then, because Sikhi is always a hard path, then another thing that we need to have is contentment. So even whilst we strive for being the greatest we can be, we also need to learn to have some contentment inside us. That if we don't achieve something, we still try hard, but we don't get all downhearted and we start coveting other people's goods. In Gurbani it says, "Rukhi sukhi khai ke thanda pani pi, dekh puraiyan chopdiyan na tarsaiye ji." So, eat what you have, whether it's rukhi sukhi roti, and don't look at other people's chopdiyan rotiyan and think, oh, I wish I had that. So be content with what you have and accept the hukum. That's another part of Sikhi, is accepting the will of the divine as being good for you. Now, along with contentment, there's also patience. And this is a real big one for me. I'm not a very patient person at all. But patience actually is a very important trait. In life, understanding hukum and understanding that the Waheguru's will is what's happening right now. Nothing is outside hukum. Hukum andar sab ko, bahar hukum na koi. So everything that's going on is all part of God's plan. It may not seem evident to us, but obviously Sikhi says, look, put your faith in the Creator, or do your best, but don't lose faith that Waheguru is the real person who's controlling all of this. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji says very clearly, he says, Mithat Nevi Nanaka Guna Changyaya Tat. That actually being humble, being Niva, is very mitha. And that mithas, he says, is the tat of all gun. Changyaya da tat hega. I.e. is the essence of all goodness. And if you see somebody who's very humble, our heart, regardless of what that person is saying, our heart is very gladdened by that, because really it's so sweet. It's so beautiful to see somebody who is humble, and instinctively we stop listening to people who are full of themselves, and it's one of those things where your soul knows, what's good for it and what's not good for it. We should try to be as truthful as we can in our dealings. The truth is what we worship, and if something is wrong, call it wrong. Don't always try to be a politician. Call a spade a spade. Actually, if you look at news today or society today, there's an awful lot of falsehood. It's like double speak. We know it's not true, but we don't want to say it. And Maharaj is saying, no, truthfulness is important. Say what is right. And a good example of that is Guru Gobind Singh Ji writing Zafarnama. Because I wouldn't have 1 inch of faith in you, and you should be so ashamed of yourself because you swore in the Quran that the Quran Sharif that you respect, and yet you went back on it. Guru Gobind Singh Ji is fighting a battle, but he's also fighting that moral battle where he says, be honest to your word. And as a Sikh, we should try, when we give our word, to stick to it. Just the idea of earning honestly and then giving away 10%, thus Vand. If you look at the 3 main things that people say, what is Sikhi? They'll say Naam Japana, Kirt Kamani, and Vand Ke Shakana. Vand is the share, and then Shakana is to consume. But before you consume, Vand Ke Shakana. First share, then consume. So what you get in, share some of that first, and then take the rest for yourself. Don't be, okay, consume all I can, and whatever's left over, I'll share some of that. That's not how Sikhi works, you see. We share first. Alongside Vand Ke Shakna is this idea of Seva. Seva is a very strong part of our character ethic. How do you build a good character? Well, you get someone to do Seva. And the Gurdwara is that school of learning how to do Seva. There's ample opportunity within the Gurdwara to wash up dishes, to serve people food, or also to go clean around the Gurdwara. This is all an opportunity for us to learn about service. And when we serve other individuals, we recognize our soul's desire to give. And in doing that, we're building a better character, you see. We're almost cleaning the inside. And Seva is like that. It's like a form of detergent for our soul. For example, there's charities like United Sikhs, Khalsa Aid, SWAT. And when we serve those charities, that's taking part in Seva. There's a real sense of recognizing the humanity in somebody else when you serve them, rather than just talk about it or eat food with them. When you actually serve them, it's even more important. Actually, when you look at the character ethics, it basically has a whole bunch of positives and a whole bunch of negatives. Things to avoid and things to embrace. Within the positives, things like, for example, fear of God. Now you might think, well, that sounds like a negative, but actually, when we respect our Creator and we respect that we are going to be judged on our actions, and Guru Sahib, there's parts of Bani where it says that, Taram Raj jab lekha mange, tu kya mukh leke jayega. You will regret your bad actions now, because you know that at some point you're going to be judged for your actions. And when we look at the people who've persecuted Sikhs, or we look at the people even now who are doing actions that are so anti to even righteousness, regardless of whether it's against a Sikh or anybody, we wonder, does that person not fear their creator? And it's true, they don't have any fear of doing the wrong thing, because they think they're going to get away with it. But somebody who realizes that there is a creator who's going to be in charge of all this, and that Kartar has the true justice, then they would really be scared to death of doing the wrong thing, because they're going to suffer for it. They can't get away from it. Waheguru is watching us every second, and that's part of this, what these kadiyan are for. We have this hat kadiyan to remind us, oh, before you do something wrong, watch out. You've already said that your creator is your boss. If you're working for God, if you're working for Waheguru and you're Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, then you better not do the wrong thing, because Waheguru is watching us, and so we promise Waheguru we're not going to do anything wrong. And that fear of God is the part of that is a fear, and part of that is the love of God. We have to have pao for our creator. Sunya manya man kita pao. Have love. So positives of Sikhi also come down to the spiritual side, to do part, to do kirtan, to do simran, to create love inside you, hang out in the sad sangat, to listen to katha. All these things are all positives that are going to help us strengthen our soul and our spiritual growth and get spiritual wisdom. And once we get that spiritual wisdom, we actually realize this world is not the end all and be all. There's a bigger world beyond. When we open ourselves up to that bigger world beyond, then doing right or wrong things in this world is important, but it ceases to be as important as it used to be, because now we realize, hold on, what I'm really aiming for is this bigger world out there. So the right stuff is like the first step. And even Gurbani says that. It says, Santaka marg taram ki pauri ko vadpagi pai. This road of the saints, the first step is taram, doing the right thing, righteousness. And after that, actually, there's a whole new ball game. Kind of see that as a minor battle compared to the real battle we've got is inside us. And that brings us on quite nicely to the negatives. What are the things to avoid? Well, the first 5 things to avoid are the panchor, these 5 thieves, and they're basically robbing you, and you're awake and they still rob you. And even right now, they could be robbing you. They're your kam, krodh, lobh, moh and ahankar. The Guru Sahib is saying, look, everything you do wrong, most of the time is going to be fueled by one of these 5 things. And we have to fight all of them. Obviously, some of them we actually need to survive. If you've got no attachment, you're not going to be a very good parent, because you're not going to look after your family that much. If you haven't got any calm, you won't be able to have a family. We're supposed to live in Gristi Jeevan, so you need to have some. But also, you can't let it overpower you. And then you've got other things like, even if you look at krodh, yes, people say don't have any anger. But when you go into taram yudh, or the idea of having a righteous battle, well, at that point, you need some biras, But you need to channel it the right way. Rather than make it into anger, make it into biras. But if you're not proud of your work, you won't try to do a good job. But at the same time, you have to see yourself as the lowest. So it is a very hard battle. And Guru Sahib is telling us right at the beginning is that this way of the saints is kanyo tikhi valo nikki. It's sharper than a sword's edge and thinner than a hair. But this is the path we have to walk. Stealing is like one of the few things that is really outlawed. And the Guruji says, just like a Muslim would never eat pork, and a Hindu wouldn't eat beef, a Sikh would never steal. Paryada haq, somebody else's haq. If it's not yours, it's taking somebody else's haq. The story of Gurmantar Dev Ji, where he refused to go and eat with the rich guy, but ate it with the poor person. That's a very important story, because what we see in that is Guru Sahib preferring simple, honest people over people who might be rich, might have all the comforts, but actually their money is earned by exploiting others. In the old days, you might see the person you're exploiting, and then you have to, you're eating off their blood. But in this globalized world, we know that every action we take, every step we take impacts somebody else, and we choose to benefit from other people's exploitation, and then we claim ignorance. We didn't bother researching it because we wanted to live with our head in the sand. Morally, ignorance is no excuse. Being akirtkana, being thankless. And actually, in Gurbani it says the worst person, is the akirtkana, the person who is thankless, whether to his parents for creating and bringing him up, whether to his creator for actually making everything. We cannot associate with anybody who ever kills their daughter, killing the child before it's born or when it's just born. Now Sikhi says, look, anybody who does that, never ever talk to them again, never ever have any dealings with them again. You know, if you go to India, it's a very common saying that Sikhs never beg. They rather work for the few pennies that they can earn rather than beg. Our hands should not be like this, they should be like that, giving. You know, any kind of discrimination is wrong for a Sikh. Look at the Gurdwara, you know, we can't stop anybody coming in. And that sense of denying someone access, that sense of discriminating against somebody is again Sikhi. A big one for Sikhs is never ever doing any adultery. The last pauri of Japji Sahib, the one that comes just before Salok, you know, actually talks about this same character ethic. In this analogy, Guru Sahib talks about making a coin. And a taksal is like a mint. We're trying to make this coin. It starts off with Jat Pahara Tiraj Sunyar Ehran Mat Ved Hathyar. And Jat is this self-control, you see. So having control over your Punj Jor is an important part. Let the furnace be your self-control, your Jat. Tiraj is patience. Tiraj becomes your Sunyar, the person who's going to make that coin. Ehran is the anvil, you know, where they smash it. Let your mat be the anvil, so your understanding. You know, we're trying to get gurmat, so make gurmat your mat. You know, the hammer you're going to beat that metal with. Well, let that be Ved, spiritual wisdom, the knowledge that Guru Sahib is teaching us. Take your mat, which is your manmat, and smash it up using gurmat. The kala, you know, this, the bellows to blow the fire up. Mara says, make that into po, fear of Waheguru. Not that kind of cowering away fear, because we have to love Waheguru as well, but also that respect for this Creator made us. Is it infinitely powerful and infinitely able to forgive us? So we worship Him because He's so amazing. Agan tapatao. Tap comes from the word tapasya, and that actually refers to your dedication to prayer and meditation. In that point, Mara says, that is the fire. That's where you're going to actually burn this beautiful metal that you're going to make into a coin. And then in the bowl of love, Panda Pao Amrit Tittal. So in that bowl then of love, see, now you come back to love. So you had fear, and then you also need love. In that bowl of love then, pour the Amrit that you have now melted. You know, when we take Amrit from the Punj Piare, it's also poured into our head 5 times, you know, into a Daswan Dwar. And Maharaj is telling us, look, internally you can earn that Amrit. So Amrit is also earned internally. And the last bit, it says, Khadiye Shabad Sachi Taksal. This is the true mint. This is the process of making this Shabad. Now it becomes into a living entity that's going to come and sit inside us. You know, and we're going to earn the wealth of the Naam. And then Guruji sums it up. And he says, well, listen, this isn't going to happen unless you have grace. Jin ko nadar karam tinkar nanak nadri nadar nihal. You know, how are you going to get exalted in this way? Only through karam. Karam as in kirpa. Only those people who earn the grace, who God blesses with that. So actually it comes back to us asking Waheguru to please bless us. So it comes back to the idea of humility, you see. We haven't got the strength to do this. We beg our Creator to bless us with that strength. So how can we discriminate upon other people? They're only blessed or not blessed by God's grace. And if we get something, it's only by God's grace as well. So you know that famous saying that there but for the great grace of God go I? That applies to all of us. Every time we see somebody who we think we're better than, just remember that the only reason that you might have more knowledge than that person is because God blessed you, and that person didn't get blessed. So there but for the grace of God go I. So we should be thankful. The Sikh character ethic is designed so that once you've got a great human being with the right qualities, that person will always do the right thing, or will do as best of a thing as they can. And when you've got 5 of these people together, as in the Khalsa Panth, and they all agree together on the right thing, then actually at that point you've got a godly decision being made, you see. And that's the Sikh way of making the right choices. Every situation is different, every situation has different factors to bear, and what you need are people who can take these ethics into account and then make a decision. Obviously I've made mistakes, so my apologies for that. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.